On the 14th of February 2023, cleaners from the City of Windhoek took to the streets to protest against their employment contracts and, of course, their working conditions. Now, this has been seen by many as the climax of a lack of resolution between two parties. On the one hand, we, of course, have the City of Windhoek, and on the other hand, with the contract employees who have not been able to find a solution. Joining me here today to dissect the topic of how we got here and what the way forward is on this situation is the Public Relations Officer from the City of Windhoek, Ms. Lydia Amutenya. Ms. Lydia, thank you so much for welcoming us into your space and making time today.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so let's already just get right into it. Now, for those people that have not been keeping up to date with what has been happening or are not really informed as it relates to this issue, from the City of Windhoek's perspective, in terms of background, how would you surmise it?
Okay, well, I think we need to understand what are the mandates of the City of Windhoek. And cleanliness of Windhoek is, we believe, is a collective function that has to be undertaken or be done by various stakeholders. And of course, our fixed term contractors, or let me say fixed term ward contractors, are then part and parcel of this exercise of making sure that Windhoek is clean. And of course, being on the ground on a daily basis, make them the greatest contributors towards the cleanliness of Windhoek. So, those that have been in Windhoek or who have been well acquainted with the cleaning in Windhoek, you may have noticed that we had at one point got the award, or let me say the status of being the cleanest city in Africa, if not the world. And of course, that title over the years, we have been losing momentum. And of course, we ended up losing it completely. But that does not mean that the efforts of keeping Windhoek clean have also downsized.
Yeah.
Obviously, we continued to find ways and measures to make sure that we keep our city habitable, attractive. In this, of course, still a lot of people still believe that there's a lot that we can do collectively to make Windhoek the cleanest city and keep that status. In terms of our relationship with the wards cleaners, our fixed term ward cleaners, we believe that we have a cordial relationship, and we believe it's mutual because there's an ongoing efforts and engagements that are going on between council and the workers. Of course, the workers through their union representatives have submitted their grievance to council on issues pertaining to the review of their working conditions.
My name is Lydia Amutenya, the leader of the crew, spokesperson of City of Windhoek Ward Cleaners. So we are still here today. We came here at 7 o'clock. We are still demanding to be permanent. And we also want to be recognized by City of Windhoek. We are still waiting them to come, at least to come give us the response. If they are not doing that, we are not leaving this place.
Maybe just a quick one to mention is that the workers, or how the employees became part of the city. Because remember, we had a contract system where we had contractors contracted by council to clean the city. Different companies. It's an entity, a company that is registered, and they apply for cleaning jobs. Just like the common practice that is on now, that most of the companies don't really employ cleaners per se, but they have contracted staff that are doing those cleaning jobs, of course, through a third party.
Oh, so like tenders?
Yes. Okay. That is how it was. There was a tender that runs, and the bidders, those that apply, they get successful, they get the job, and they come in on board with their employees, and they start doing the cleaning. So, as I said, that is how we started with the direct engagement with the employees. Then we council, when the contracts of these companies came to an end, council looked at the arrangements and thought of saying, okay, instead of going through a third party, which also in most cases doesn't really yield great results for the employees, how about we engage this employee directly for them to provide their services directly to council? Still not on a permanent basis, but still providing their services on contract, but directly to council without a third party.
All right.
And with that, on that basis, council thought that that will be suitable because it will then help in terms of having an improved remuneration and so on. Of course, we believe where they were in terms of remuneration, we felt they were a bit exploited in line with how they were paid and so on. And well, then council then deem it fit to directly then contract the workers and the ward cleaners, and of course in the process also for council to be able to improve their condition of employment. Of course, as I mentioned, not necessarily through permanent employment or permanent to be on a permanent structure of the city, but still through they rendering their services directly to council. So the process of trying to eliminate that third party, the whole idea behind that was really to say, if I'm paying you $10, for instance, for your service, but now when I pay to the third party, you, the person on the ground, the employer, or the employee, the worker on the ground, you probably only get $3 or $4 from the $10 that I paid. Is you provided the service through your third party, and then I pay the company pays you. But if I was to employ or to get your services directly, then it means that $10 directly goes to you without a third party. Okay. Yeah.
And if I may inquire, when did this transition happen?
I can't say for sure, but I think it was formally around 2019, 2000. Okay. To 2019, 2020, somewhere. Okay. Formally. Yeah. Okay. But of course, the engagement has been going for some time. I have to double check that date. So, of course, then we believe that the working condition we have improved those over the years because apart from the basic salaries that the workers are getting, it's around 3,200 or so. Then they get transport allowance, as well as pension allowance and the medical allowance. Those are allowances. They are not medical aid or pension fund or anything. It's an allowance that means then it will enable you to either look for a company of your choice where you can put in your money that was dedicated to that function, and then you can grow it into that investment or whatever option that you choose. Right. And of course, the medical allowance also. If you get sick, you can take that money and go to a private doctor and get assisted. All right. But that is basically that. So the pension is around 716. The transport is 800, and the medical is 250. That's now on top of the basic salary of 3 point something. So in total, it will be over $5,000. Of course, monthly. Yes. Of course, the end expenditure is dependent on what else do you have on your expenses, on the list of your expenses.
All right.
Yes.
I think. While you were talking, I noticed that you spoke about how you have received the demands that the workers have been carried or put forth as it relates to what they are demanding through their unions. So I just wanted to ask, since you have received these documents, now in terms of contentious issues, where is it that you and the contract laborers agree, and what is the point of divergence? Where is it that there's a contentious issues, and why?
Yeah, I think I haven't probably completed the thought when I was explaining on the relationship issue, when I mentioned that the workers are represented by two unions, Nalau and Napo, and these are the union that are representing the workers, and they are bringing the workers' issues to council.
Yeah.
And of course, as I mentioned, council has not only been waiting for the workers' issue over the period of those years that we have took them over in to wait and see what they can do about the issues of ward cleaning. This is a function of council. It's a mandate, and the state of cleanliness of Windhoek is a worrying state for everyone, including council. And that's why council, on a bigger picture, is looking at how holistically can we improve the situation of cleanliness in Windhoek. And for us now to look at that, we of course have to look at various options or that are viable and of course sustainable in making sure that we find a lasting solution to the cleanliness of the city. However, being that a holistic approach, you are also looking at the people, the human capital that will be then undertaking that responsibility. But the reason why I'm talking about the bigger picture of this is to say this is not a narrow focus. We are looking at the bigger picture of the whole of Windhoek. How do we keep Windhoek clean? Is the current arrangement the best option that we can employ as an organization? Or is a better option that is not only viable but also sustainable? Because it's all good to think of finding options. But is that option in the long term sustainable? The council has just launched or has just approved the 2022-2027 strategic plan. And our vision is to become a sustainable and caring city in 2027. And of course, everything else that we do, it must be sustainable. Is it really sustainable to maybe employ close to 700 fixed-term contractors on the full-time basis of council? Is it really sustainable to continue with the contract system? We are looking at the various options, and of course, we are also very lucky to have received some of the international support and external support from some of our sister city. If you have followed the news, you know that we have had support for the solid waste management in Windhoek, which was about 36 million, to come up with solutions and see how we can improve Windhoek. And one of those is actually employing measures towards recycling. And that is going to affect every resident of Windhoek in one way or the other. Of course, it might affect all of us in a greater way. The fact that you can now take your recyclable and get benefit from it. But in the end, the core responsibility, how do we make sure that we keep Windhoek clean and tidy? And that's why we are not isolating the issues of the grievances of the workers. We are looking at it in the bigger spectrum of things. And the existing platform and engagements that are going on between the city council and of course the workers through their representatives. We have not exhausted such platforms because as I mentioned, council then has committed about 12 months period starting from 1st of July 2022 up until 30 June 2023 to be able to complete the exercise of looking at those viable options that I mentioned. And the coincidence, it's not a coincidence that this period is running in parallel with the workers' contract at this stage. We should say this is actually the first time that the workers have a long-term contract. They have a contract of 12 months. Previously, it was more 6-month renewable. So now it's made to be 12 months with the thought in consideration that within that period, we will be able to conclude and find a lasting solution that will really see us through, all of us. It will be beneficial for both the council and of course any other stakeholders that will be involved in making sure that we keep the city clean. And that includes the human capital and the workers responsible for this work.
tulongo ko edura hetatu atushendu atuturwa ke private kondaraka ke private kondaraka tulongo ko 11 years te tutana unanoko tutosenda 18 te peta ko municipality utesha tulonga katuna penjela katuna nando medical oida salary shona tupe iko 3,300.
I think in your response you touched on my next question, but I would just like for you to expound on it a little more. I think speaking about sustainability, one of the key demands, or I think grievances as it relates from what the workers are saying, is the fact, and you touched on it, the fact that employment is not permanent, it's on a contract basis. And although the contract has been now extended to not only be 3 or 6 months renewable, it's now 12 months. Yes. But I think most people are wondering, and although you touched on it a bit as you were speaking, I just wanted to isolate that one thing and then have you expound on it as to why, and up to now, that workers have not received employment on a permanent basis. I think as we were reading, a lot of the media reporting was reporting from a perspective of how some cleaners have been with the City of Windhoek on a contractual basis since, let's say, 1999 or so forth. So 30 years or 20-something years of just contract-based employment with no permanency inside. So I just wanted to inquire as to why the city does not provide permanent employment.
Yeah, I think that gets us back to my first explanation.
Yeah.
How did we get here? When I explained that the workers, even if you mention 1999 or whichever years, the workers were not directly employed by the City of Windhoek. And that's when I mentioned the contracts. They were providing the services through a third party. And I also brought in the indication of when did we start engaging directly with the workers. And that explains that there was never, we didn't have in our structure designed to accommodate such a big number of employees until up to this stage.
But the need for them was there.
That's what I'm saying. When I started explaining, I'm explaining to you that the services that they were rendering to the City of Windhoek was through a third party. So in other words, we never actually during that time to say they didn't have any contractual obligation or contractual connection with the City of Windhoek directly.
Yeah.
Because if my job is, for instance, let me give an example, I'm maybe a chef and I'm providing my services to a company through you are my employer actually.
Yeah.
Now I will not be able to claim that company Z that the food is landing up is my employer, because my salary comes through you.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you get paid from that company that is employing that you are providing our services to. So I can't really claim that you have been my employer.
Yeah.
All I can say, I've been rendering my service to that company, but the negotiations and the discussion as to how much am I getting paid, what is my working condition, I'm demanding it from you. So in that case, that is the exhibition that I'm trying to put out there and say, the direct, I can speak from the moment we started directly engaging. Yes. And that's why I'm saying that we started not long ago. And so far in that space of time, we have improved. We believe the condition has improved from the way that you, for instance, if we're getting a 1.2 as your salary, compared to your current salary now, it comes also with transport allowance and also pension allowance and medical allowance that we didn't have, of course, plus the basic that has also been improved. So I believe that shows the council's responsibility, and of course the caring part of council to say, these are our residents, this is our workers, and we value them. And while we don't have the resources to be able to employ them full-time on a permanent basis, we try to improve their benefits over time. And of course, that discussion has never, the doors on those discussion was never closed. That's why for every year, there's new discussion, there's new area of improvement that are looked at and so forth. So it will be very, very difficult to say why didn't you employ the workers on a full-time basis, because on its own, it has a lot of implications. It's not just something that one will wake up and you start dishing out the appointment letter. Of course, it requires a lot of investigation and research, and of course, reality check also on your situation. It's an organization. Will you be able to afford that? But I don't want to to already speak on what is going to happen in the future. I don't know what those discussions that are before council will then conclude. So we want to believe whatever discussion that council is going to, and solution which council is going to come up with, it's going to be a solution that is amicable and of course suitable to the situation of the current situation that we have of the Windhoek cleanliness, of course, including, because cleanliness doesn't mean Windhoek will clean itself. There will be somebody, although we are all collectively responsible, there will be somebody directly who is going to take that responsibility. But in what format, how, in what employment contract and conditions, and so on what employment basis. So I think that then will tell us what is going to happen.
Agreed. I think from your perspective, how would you say this matter could have been better handled from the perspective of the workers? Like, what would you have seen like to happen so that it didn't escalate to the point that it had? How would you have preferred that it would have taken place?
Yeah, I think the fact that the strike was illegal, there was no notification whatsoever to council to indicate that we are planning to take on any industrial action because of ABC. That's one. Thirdly, we believe it was a surprise to all of us because we have already discussion that is ongoing. We have platforms that have been created with the workers' representatives. That's why you might have seen that some of the unions or the unions were somehow distancing themselves from this protest, because it was a surprise, I think, to the various stakeholders that are involved in this whole matter, because it's not like, I felt usually when the strike, when you resort to strike, it's because you have reached a deadlock in your discussions or your negotiations. We have not gone that route yet. So we are also within the 12-month period that we set ourselves as a timeline between council to finalize and finding those amicable solutions that we are talking about. And we are not yet in the 12 months. We started in July last year. We are just now in February. So we still have a few months left. So I would have said if all these platforms and discussions were exhausted and nothing was achieved, I think it's every worker's right to say, but we cannot agree. That's why I'm sure even the union are kind of were distancing themselves to say, but this is not what we agreed upon. So I think it's also an issue of maybe understanding and sometimes external influences. Maybe the workers also really, of course, you'll be frustrated maybe by a condition, but then you also not looking at various issues that might affect your negotiations. Because here we are sitting on the table talking to each other, but tomorrow, instead of you following or you adhering to what we have agreed on the period we set for ourselves, you are on the street protesting. I think that is for me, and from the city side, we believe that the strike was not necessary because we have not exhausted the platforms and the engagements and the discussions that we set ourselves to have. Even when the demonstration was or the protest was illegal, the management of the City of Windhoek did not just look at them and pretended like there was nothing going on. We were interested to know why is a demonstration going on while we believe we are still within our time frame that we agreed upon with the workers. So we sat with the workers and their representatives, and we are informed again of the same similar grievances that they have already are before council. So what is before council? The time frame that I just mentioned of 1st July 2022 to 30th June 2023 has not lapsed.
Yeah.
And that time frame that was set with the purpose. The purpose was to make sure we have enough time to conclude on the matter.
Yeah.
How we are going to conclude on the matter, unfortunately, we all don't know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's discussion around this matter and the workers were provided with a year contract so that you feel it's not a full-time, it's not a fixed, it's not a permanent job, permanent employment, but we have at least fixed 12 months fixed for you to know that for the next 12 months you are secured in terms of your employment, even if it's not 100% job security, because job security, of course, is when you are saying you are a permanent employee. But of course, even when you are permanent employees, anything can happen that your employment might no longer be permanent, maybe retrenched or whatever. So it's not that 100% for sure. We know that every person that is providing the services to the City of Windhoek could have to be employed permanently, because then in the end, I don't think we will be able to, there's any organization that will be able to manage that. And I think, I don't know, looking at the various industry practices, what is happening, it is not a unique arrangement. Even the people that are providing cleaning services inside the organizations themselves, most of them are not permanent, they are outsourced. So it's not that the City of Windhoek has committed a crime of now engaging the workers directly, because that is what it feels like, that it's coming out as if we should have not directly engaging the worker so that they can provide their service directly to the city and eliminate the third party.
Was the pushback from the third party there? Did they feel
no, that contract it ended. If you have a tender comes to an end, and if it comes to an end, it's not renewed, it's not re-advertised. That's it. That is the arrangement of your engagement. That is how it is. So that was sometimes back. It has been long ago. So we in that period we looked at various options. We looked at the options of maybe a special vehicle purpose, where maybe workers can the first idea was whether the workers maybe can register companies of their own that will be providing the services to the City of Windhoek. These are some of the options that were looked at,
explored,
and whether, and is that also a suitable option, or whether we must go the route of procurement, like I'm procuring a service, a cleaning service, and then that takes us back again to where we started from. Remember, it was a tendering or a bidding process. So I'm not concluding to say that is not going to happen or what is going to happen. All I'm saying is that is the way forward. That is what is on the table. And this has not come yesterday because of the strike. It has been there on discussion. There is literally to mention that there was actually nothing new that this protest has changed in terms of the ongoing discussion. I think it was more for a disruption in the process, because now the workers didn't work for some days and so on and so forth, and the distraction that was brought after on the day that they were dispensed of the premises and so on, that also then kind of fuel and provide a bad relationship to a relationship that we believe has been positive. So those things are not necessary. And I think council being a caring city is our logo. I mean, it's our vision. It's also our belief that we should utilize the platform that are already there in existence, so that we can conclude on matters that are affecting us. So we have not gone to the level of not talking to each other, or to the level of closing doors on each other or anything. We are still within what we agreed that we are going to be doing. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Amutenya, for availing your time once again in your office space and for hosting us. We wish you and the other party all the best as it relates to negotiations and resolutions. And obviously, as citizens of Windhoek, we do want to live in the cleanest Windhoek possible. So thank you once again for availing your time.
Okay, thank you very much. And just also maybe to conclude that we have the similar matters have been actually registered at the Labour Commissioner's office, and there is an arbitration that is set for next week, 27th to the 28th of February. All this is not now. It has been communicated since last year. So it's information that is already known. So that's why the surprise of why acting illegally, to protest illegally while we have all these measures. We have not concluded the Labour Commissioner's office issue. We have not concluded the council issues.
Yes.
Therefore, yes, we are looking forward to an improved relationship in this matter. And of course, we are looking forward to collective efforts of all residents of Windhoek to making sure that Windhoek remains the cleanest city. And I think we owe it to ourselves to live in a habitable and healthy. When the environment is clean and healthy, the residents will also be healthy and will be happy.
Agreed.
Yes.
Right. So that is it from us for this session of Ask the Expert, as we look forward to keeping track of the negotiations between the City of Windhoek and, of course, the contract labour until they get to an amicable solution. Thank you.